Okay, I thought I'd do a little talk about storage media, as in videotape, CDs, DVDs, and also these newfangled um, pens thing with jigs. Hang on a minute. I should have paused it actually. I forgot I'm using it. So, I mean, we all know about these little memory sticks, right? You know, we just plug them in and put your data on them, and everyone swears by them. Oh, they're brilliant. But there's one little thing you don't know about, right? They're prone to fatigue. The biggest problem with these is that every time you plug them in or unplug them, the little tiny little circuit board inside it is bent slightly, and over time they fracture, and then your data's gone. But you can send them away to the specialists who will try to retrieve your data from them. Now, I'm talking from experience because I used to work in a hi-fi shop many years ago, back in the 90s, and we used to have, I'm going to tell you something quite surprising in a minute, right? But we used to have videotapes. I worked in a shop for a while, and there was a guy who used to have a movie library, as in a rental, where you could go and rent tapes, right? And in this video library, he had a basement absolutely jam-packed with tapes from the floor to the ceiling. You've never ever seen so many videotapes in one place. Even so, there was one or two tapes that he wanted to get back into circulation. And we had a bit of a problem. The tapes themselves, the data on them was intact, but the basement suffered from damp. So what happened was that the videotapes went mouldy. Anyway, so I was tasked with a little job of basically cleaning these tapes up. So what happens if you put a videotape in a video recorder that's got green molds growing on it? Well, it messes up your video heads, doesn't it? Basically, the tapes become unplayable. So what I had to do was dry them out, first off. Then I had to pull some of the tape out, right? And then I would use some cotton wool underneath the tape, and I also used some cotton wool on top of the tape. Then I'd have to use a motor to spin the tape through between the two cotton wool layers, forwards and backwards, about half a dozen times to clean the tape because it was covered in mould. After doing all that, the tape was fine, it was playable. And we're talking about some tapes that had been in storage like for what, 20 years, some of them. I mean, this is the 90s, right? So it's the mid-90s you were talking about. When tapes first came out, it was around video VHS tapes. I think in this country, in the UK, it was around 1978 or something, 1977 or something. We were on Betamax before that. I can't remember the exact date, but Betamax came out first, and it was claimed that Betamax was a better system anyway, but for some reason we all ended up going to VHS, right? Anyway, having cleaned these tapes up, because remember it's about 20 years or so, some of these tapes were really old, and they were in mono as well. But we managed to clean up some of these tapes and get them back in circulation, because people would come in and say, oh, can I rent this movie? And I said, oh, I'm afraid that one's not in circulation now. And I said, oh, I really want to see this movie. Have you got it? And so we'd have to go digging around in the basement. And that's when we found out that a lot of them was subdued to damp. Even so, they were still usable after you clean them up. Now, here's the surprising bit. Now, back in the 1950s and 60s, videotape didn't exist obviously, but we had analog reel-to-reel tape, and they changed the chemistry of the audio tape, talking about normal reel-to-reel tape, not cassette tape, you know, it's a lot thicker than cassette tape. Back in the 50s and 60s, the actual chemistry of the tape was prone to becoming brittle over time. It would snap. So I've still got, hang on, let me just pause a minute. Right, I've still got an audio tape, reel-to-reel tape. The actual spool is a lot newer, but this tape is from 1965, and originally it had the Beatles on it, which is kind of expected because that's what was all the rage back in the 1960s. And this tape still plays today. I can't play it right now because my reel-to-reel is in the little room, but if you look at the tape, look how much wear and tear there is on it. I don't know if you can see that. Probably can't because the focus. I can put my hand on it. You can see a lot of wear on it. It's got a chunk missing out there, look. But that tape still plays today. Tape